A lot of tournaments took place in Pokemon TCG Pocket, including the biggest tournament that this game has seen so far. And with that being the case, a lot of information has come to light and the meta has been shaped by now. So let's take a look at the most successful decks and the best deck list that this game has to offer. Starting off with the two best decks in this game, which are Pikachu EX and Mewtwo EX. These two decks are top cutting every single tournament you see. Those are the two decks that always duke it out between themselves as to who takes first place and who wins the entire tournament. And that, no surprise, was also the case in the biggest tournament we have ever seen in Pocket so far. So let's start off with looking at Pikachu. This deck list that you see right here that took third place, and it's the most common way to play Pikachu EX. But there's another tier list for this, another deck list, for this deck, and the list that I'm about to show you right now actually took first place and won the biggest tournament we have seen so far. And here it is. What's very interesting about this deck list is that it plays Pincurchin instead of the normal version of Zapdos, and instead of like a Raichu or other trainer cards like a Potion for example, it plays Blitzel and Zap Striker to be able to hit the enemy bench. It's a very interesting deck list, I think. And this is the one that is the most successful deck list in the game, because as I said, this is the deck list that won the biggest tournament so far. So it's fair to say that this is a pretty competitive deck list, at least, if not the best deck list in the game. And so now that we saw both of the Pikachu EX deck lists, let's move on to what always takes first or second place as well. In this case, this Mewtwo EX list that's coming up took second place in the tournament. Well, let's take a look at it. Here it is. That's the Mewtwo EX deck list. That's the most common, most played, most successful deck list for Mewtwo EX. That's pretty straightforward. That's all there is to say about it. It's pretty straightforward. Don't make the mistake to change this list in any way, shape or form. I see a lot of decks that play Mewtwo, they try to add other basic Pokemon to the list like a Jinx or something. Forget about this. This is the ultimate, let me say it like that, this is the ultimate tier list for Mewtwo EX. It's the best and most successful list. So there we go. So we have now Pikachu EX and Mewtwo EX covered. Let's move on to all the way from first place to fourth place were taken by the Pikachu and Zapdos lists that I just showed you, and second place was taken by the Mewtwo EX list. So fifth place was actually taken by a Charizard list, Charizard EX and Moltres. This exact list that you see here right now on your screen. This is how you play Charizard EX. This is the most successful fire deck in the game. and one of the most competitive deck lists after Pikachu and Mewtwo EX. The main reason why people play Charizard EX is because it is a favorable matchup against Mewtwo EX. And a lot of people believe Mewtwo EX to be not just one of the two best decks in the game, but the best deck in the game. So they expect most people in tournaments to play that Mewtwo EX. And since Charizard is a good matchup against Mewtwo, they believe they have a favorable matchup against most other players. And that's why they played this Charizard EX list. Unfortunately for them, there were 3 Pikachus in the top 5. And also, another thing to note here is that while Charizard EX is pretty good, pretty competitive, it never took first place in any tournament. It always makes at least top 8, but it never won anything. Never took that first place. So you do with that what you will. Moving on now to another deck list that actually won one tournament. Let's talk about it. And that deck list is Venusaur EX, or I think a better name for this list is Executor list. Because actually Executor is the star of this deck. Both versions are very strong. The non-EX version and the EX version. Both can be absolute monsters. They deal a tremendous amount of damage for just 1 energy, and they have a huge HP pool for how fast they are. So with just a little bit of coin flip luck, they can get out of control very fast. And not only that, they are very fast and they only need 1 energy and they take hits, they can stall. And that leads to you, when you play this list, you will be able to set up the Venusaur EX on the bench without much issue. Executor will get a kill or 2, spread a lot of damage, tank hits for you, and you clean up with Venusaur EX that in the end game can be unkillable due to his huge HP pool, and it heals itself, and there's Erika and all that stuff. Like, this is I would say, after Pikachu and Mewtwo EX, this is one of the better decks to play. Mainly because of Executor. So yeah, there you have the most competitive and most successful deck list for him. And you do with that whatever you will. Next up, let's talk about Articuno EX. Because me, and I know for a fact that a lot of other people thought or still think that this is one of the best decks in the game. Because yeah, simply, everyone knows that by now, that Articuno EX and Misty, this combination can be absolutely devastating and just win you the game on the spot. Turn 2, turn 1, whatever. If this combination works, this is almost impossible to deal with. But for some reason, in tournaments, this deck does not see a lot of success. This is the best version of the deck, that's why I'm showing this to you, and there are a lot of other versions with like Goldark or whatever. But no matter what you pair with this Articuno EX, nothing really sees success in tournaments. It barely even makes top 8. It's always there, it's always present, but it never really gets to the very top, to the top 8. You barely see an Articuno EX. This thing never won a tournament, and never seen a top 3, barely in top 8 even. And yeah, I, to be honest, cannot explain why that is, but I'm telling you the fact of the matter, and that is that this list is not as good as a lot of people, including me, thought it would be, or still think it should be good. But yeah, again, tournament success for this list is almost non-existent. Okay, so with that out of the way, let's move on to the list, to the last list that is really competitive and sees a lot of success in tournaments, and then we will move on to some honorable mentions. And that is Marowak EX. This exact list is the best way to play Marowak EX, and it's the best fighting game in the game by a mile. So Marowak EX is very interesting because we were really surprised to see Marowak EX having the success he actually has. But by now, it's not a surprise anymore. Like, it is safe to say it's like set in stone by now that this deck is actually one of the best in the game. This is top 4, top 5 deck that you can build actually. He consistently makes top 8. Pretty much every tournament you see him in top 16, top 8. He top cuts. And even in this tournament, like the biggest tournament that TCG Pocket has seen, Marowak EX actually made 7th place. And if you have watched this tournament, you know that he got incredibly unlucky with his coin flips. And if that wouldn't have been the case, he could have placed even higher than 7th place. Maybe he would have kicked that Charizard out of top 5, who knows, we will never know. But point is, don't underestimate Marowak EX. That thing is a beast, and it's one of the best decks in the game. Moving on to the honorable mentions. And that's this Wheezing Arbok tier list, deck list. So people have desperately tried to make the best use out of the Wheezing Koga combination that they can. And now we have finally figured out the best list for him. It was about time, and here it is. You pair Wheezing with Arbok and even with Muk, which might be a surprise to some. To me it was. But this is the best list for Wheezing Koga. You poison the enemy with Wheezing, you trap them with Arbok, and then you have Muk hit hard. And Muk has 130 HP. Koga also works on Muk just in case you need it. This deck has, as you can see, no EX, so if you play against it, you're always forced to knock out 3 different Pokemon instead of just 2. So, well, yeah, this never won a tournament. This is like not S tier or A tier or something, but it is a force to be reckoned with. And you should never underestimate this deck when you play against it. That's an honorable mention for you. It is more successful than you would think. Another honorable mention is this Ninetales Rapidash deck. So yeah, we know for a long time that Ninetales is very strong. That is obvious. But it was always the question, kinda as with Weezing Koga, kind of, was always the question, what is the best to pair with Ninetales? We tried Arcanine, we put in Moltres EX, we played around with Heatmore and all that jazz. But the real answer is now, you play Ninetales Rapidash. That is because it is just very, very fast. Moltres EX, it takes too long. It's not really needed in this deck anyways, so... And the fact that every time Ninetales attacks, it has to detach an energy from itself. So you're setting up something else, like for example an Arcanine on the bench. This will in most of your games will not be possible. You simply can't find the energy to attach to him. And as I said, Moltres seems to be the logical solution to this, but it's just too slow. It's better to have something that does quite a lot of damage for one energy and is fast. And Rapidash is exactly that. It's also very smart to play Rapidash, because Rapidash can also use the Blaine to increase its damage output. So it's just the very best option. List that you see here. If you want to play a fire deck that is not Charizard, then you play this Ninetales list. And we did it. That was it. Those were all 8 decks, or 9 even, if you count both Pikachu deck lists. And yeah, the fact that we have 8 different tier lists here that have an actual impact on the meta just shows how good this game is, how well balanced this game is. And I mean, that's just amazing. I love this game, and yeah, I will keep covering this game, everything about this game on my channel, especially like deck lists and things that happen in tournaments. Whenever we get an exciting event, I will make videos for that. For now, yeah, we only got this Wonder Trade event and a few cosmetics. Like, I won't bother, that's not worth to make a video about this, in all honesty. But yeah, still, the game is great. We have a lot of decks, a lot of tournaments, there's stuff to talk about, and yeah, if you enjoy this kind of content, consider leaving a follow. I will make videos about this game for a very long time. I will cover pretty much everything about it. But yeah, for now, I hope that was fun and informative. And yeah, take care of yourselves. Have a good day, and bye bye.